Hello! Good gosh, immensely disorganized today. And I also just had to receive a package at the door. So, whew, here we are. How's everyone doing? How's your day? Oh, I haven't even made the go live post on YouTube. Oh, let's do that now. Give me 2 seconds. Oh, right. I think I'm more or less in position. Community tab. Let's go. And let's put in an image of fishing, I guess. Oh, of course, pillager patrol of the day. Excellent. I just ate as well, which is why I'm like clearing my throat and stuff. I'm like, I just had a ham sandwich. Give me a second here. Hey folks, I'm doing some casual fishing in the survival guide world on Twitch. Come hang out. We might explore some more caves later. Twitch.tv/pixelriffs. We might explore some caves later if these chaps will let me. Alright. There we go. There we go. Afternoon from the Isle of Wight. Hello, Wight. Used to be a lot closer to you than I am now. I used to live in Southampton, so I've been to the Isle of Wight a couple of times. Take your time, we aren't going anywhere. Well, thank you. I appreciate you not hopping out while I type up a quick YouTube message. So today, welcome back. We're doing the survival guide. We're going to do a little bit more between episode stuff, minor spoilers for tomorrow's episode. The object of tomorrow's episode is relatively obvious once I will log in. And we're going to be doing some fishing. We'll probably explore some caves later. I want to go back to the cave system that was in today's video, look around a little bit more. I don't think it has too many more surprises for us, but who knows? If we find anything awesome, then at least we'll have a record of it and I can mention it in the episodes next week. But this week's episodes are all done with, and yeah, hopefully we'll have a nice chill weekend. I gotta be honest, even though obviously people are very excited about Hermitcraft Season 9 coming up and Season 8 ending and all of that stuff, I am quite happy to not have my weekend taken up by the Hermitcraft recap, especially considering it's New Year weekend. So yeah, I'm gonna be enjoying myself over the next couple of days and be back on Monday with some more videos. Until then, let's hop in and let's play some Minecraft. Loving the survival guide, thank you very much. So I did an episode about horses. Yeah, kind of hard to avoid when I logged out basically in the exact spot where I finished the episode. So we're not going to do much with horses today. We're gonna do some fishing because I finally have a rod with all of the enchantments, which is very exciting. So we'll be able to catch some fish nice and quickly. We've got a bed that I'm going to put out here, even though it's on slabs, so it'll look kind of awkward, but it's a hammock for our fishermen here. And I think I'll probably leave that out here so that we can get some sleep nice and easily when the sun goes down. Because sometimes I stay up catching fish, and other times I run inside and have to spam the bed for a little while. Hope I get mending. That's kind of the objective here, is to get a mending book before we go to a village, and then talk about villages after that. You're going to be fishing too? Nice. Nice. Good to have some company when fishing. I'm going to end up with a lot of XP from this, which I'm kind of okay with, to be honest. Because, yeah, I just spent a bunch of the last episode at the zombie spawner that we found. So, yeah, I will have a good handful of XP on me. And we're not going to be doing any enchanting on the streams, because I like saving that stuff for the episodes. Because otherwise people are like, hey, wait a minute, why do you suddenly have an enchanted such and such, right? My sword is looking a bit damaged, so we don't need to worry too much about that. We'll leave all of the oak stuff in here. I've got a furnace on me now that I'll just pop in here, I think. And yeah, we're all set. Let's fish. I could make an AFK fishing farm, but I like fishing on streams because it means I can just hang out and chat with people. It's Fishing Thursday. Yes, it entirely is. What do I expect to get from fishing? XP and loot. Like, it's nice to get enchanted books. It's nice to get extra fishing rods, extra options for bows, that kind of thing. I'm actually going to move all of these books before I do too much here. I'm gonna move these over to the storage room, just so that we can put the enchanted books in the chest marked enchanted books, and then it actually makes sense that it exists. I didn't forget about anything, Vivitator. I do know that I have an enchanted book, yes. I just haven't used it on anything yet. Because at the time, I didn't have any diamonds to put in on tools, and then I enchanted a diamond pickaxe and immediately got Unbreaking 3 and Efficiency 4, so I didn't really need to use it on anything. I guess we'll probably keep the rest of the fishing loot in here, since we have a bunch of fun enchanted bows from that. There is a difference between me forgetting to do something and just deciding not to do something, right? Is there an AFK fishing for 1.18? There's been AFK fishing since they changed the fishing rules in 1.16. It makes a little bit more of a complex contraption now. Like, you need to do a lot more in order to get the right conditions, but it is still possible to AFK fish farm. Just not within, like, the space of a 3x1 area. There's an enchantment from the table I didn't take, so what? Doesn't matter. I'll get it later. Vinka, thank you so much for the 15 months. Nixcraft, thank you for the 200 bits as well. Afino and Escotro, thank you for the resubs during the intro. When am I going to beat the Ender Dragon? When I want to, I guess. When it comes up naturally as part of the series. As for right now, I'm not that worried about it. I think there's a lot of basic overworld stuff that we should really cover before... Excuse me, pufferfish. Before we do the dragon fight. Like, I haven't even found a village yet. Although I have some guesses about where a couple of them might be. But I think stuff like villager trading would make a lot of sense to do before we go and fight the dragon, not least because some people will spawn next to a village. Do people still ask me if I'll join Hermitcraft? Yes. Not nearly as often as they ask me whether I'm making an Empires video now, so the balance has shifted somewhat. Exactly, there's no need to rush. I do want to get a little bit more overworld stuff done. Like, for example, right? There's no point in going to the end and fighting the dragon when we still haven't talked about horses, because Elytra is immediately going to make horses obsolete, and there's no real point in going to the end and fighting the dragon and not immediately then going out to the end cities, right? So it kind of makes sense that that's the logical end game progression, and, like, as far as things go with progression, we're probably still in the mid-game. I still haven't thoroughly explored the Nether. We don't know where a warped forest is. You know, there's a variety of things we should still do before tackling some of that endgame stuff. You still use the AFK fish farm since I use lily pads fairly often? Yeah, I mean, you can still AFK farm for fish and XP that way. You just don't get enchanted books and better fishing rods and stuff. What do I usually do once I've beaten the dragon? Anything else. Like, it opens up all kinds of possibilities. That's usually when I start getting into more advanced farming stuff, because once you can move large amounts of resources around, once you have shulker boxes, basically, it makes the game a lot more viable to live more nomadically, bring a whole bunch of stuff with you for farms and redstone contraptions and stuff, which means that you can more easily take on larger projects like that. So if I want to have a redstone shulker box that's dedicated for all of the contraptions and stuff we want to make, then yeah, that's when I would start making some more advanced farms. But I think next week we're going to get into either village stuff or a few basic redstone contraptions, because we can do stuff with, like, melon and pumpkin farms. We can do stuff with Lure 2 and mending. Interesting. We can do stuff with sugarcane, bamboo. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that we already have available to us. Do I plan on making a shulker farm? Eventually, yes, but no time soon. Probably not until, like, mid to late 2022 is when that's going to show up in Survival Guide. Not least because the amount of work required to make a shulker farm is pretty intense. You need to be able to move a shulker to the overworld, which is a pretty high concept thing if you're not familiar with Minecraft. Which I'm taking it for granted that some people know what I'm talking about, but my series is pitched at people who are new to Minecraft but want to learn everything that you can do in Minecraft, basically. Shepherd Spy, thank you for a brand new tier 1 sub to the channel. Enjoy your emotes and your sub badge. Welcome to the Pixels. And Poisson3, thank you for the 8 months. 8 months, I know. Is it possible to make an AFK Ender Dragon farm? AFK, I don't think so, because the player needs to be present in order to place end crystals to respawn the dragon. Is it possible to kill the Ender Dragon in a fully automatic way? Yes. Is it possible in the current version of Minecraft? That I don't know. Because I believe, like, Razeworks and a few other people back in the day had, you know, Ender Dragon killers that were automated. I think some of them involved putting the dragon in a minecart for a while, but I don't know if that's still possible. So, like, there's some interesting designs out there, but if they work for the current version of Minecraft with some of the changes that have been made, no idea. Shaylee, thank you so much for the 6 months. Do I think making a mob farm is still worth it with the new spawning rules and giant caves being unlit? Making a mob farm as in, like, a giant multi-platform thing in the sky? Absolutely. You still only need to be 128 blocks away from the surface. Like, it makes sense. And, frankly, getting large amounts of mob drops is a necessity in late game. If you want to get enough TNT to blast out larger areas, go mining for netherite properly, that kind of stuff. Oh my goodness, we got stuff happening now. Fazoo, thank you so much for the 100 bits. Nixcraft with 100 bits. Dogman Jack with the 2 gifted subs. And Salient with the 300. Thank you all so much for kicking off that hype train. Dragon would just destroy a minecart. You'd think that, yeah. And I wonder if it does that now and didn't before or something. But yeah, there was some kind of wild mechanics at work there. Yeah, imagine betting your first Survival Guide dragon. Yeah, I think a lot of people will be in the comments asking why I didn't kill it with beds the first time you fight the Ender Dragon. Because that's just what some people expect now, which is the weirdest thing in the world to me. Like, I understand, like, the efficiency of killing it a certain way, or the fact that speedrunners do it, making it the fastest way of doing something. But I... Like, Fazoo, thank you for gifting a sub to Bruno. I'll cover the other subs in a second. But my point being, a lot of what I do in the early stages of the Survival Guide is very much going to be playing the game the intended way before we start breaking things too much. And by breaking things, I mean doing stuff that the way the community meta tends to skew these days. Obviously, the developers intend for things like sugarcane farms to be possible. That's what some of the redstone components are there for. And then stuff like zero ticking, which is no longer possible in this version, or at least doesn't grow plants the same way, would be what I would consider the more game-breaking stuff. The stuff that's very much not intended, as you can tell from the fact that they patched it out pretty quickly. I do really wish, and I know it's kind of OP, I do really wish that they hadn't made changes that led to Doc M's whole shadow block, like, inventory syncing stuff working. I know it's not Doc M's find originally. Fallen Breath was, I think, the one who discovered it. But, yeah, either way, like, I do wish that that was still possible, because that would be a really fun thing to explore in Survival Guide, but apparently it's patched as of 1.18, so... You like fighting the dragon the old-fashioned way, it's more exciting. It is, yeah, and I think it's just part of the way the game is meant to be played, up to a point. Commissar Fish, thank you for the 5 months of Prime. Sky Shadow with the 5 months as well. Honey Weather with the 2 months. Been really liking the series, so helpful. Thank you so much. It means a lot to know that people are getting getting their Minecraft fix and also learning something about the game. Small Cats, thank you for gifting a sub, and Devon Skirata, thank you so much for gifting a sub as well. Folks in the chat, remember, if you get gifted a sub, make sure you thank these very generous people. Eleanor Street or Saint, I'm not sure which. Maybe just ST, who knows. Thank you so much for the tier 1 sub, appreciate that very much. One, cycling the dragon after a good speedrun is extremely satisfying too. Yeah, that's something that we will eventually cover, because we did that in the original survival guide. Is like, here are 10 different ways to do something. Here are, you know, here is killing the dragon with explosives. Here are a bunch of different ways to fight the wither. Whoa, Black Steel, thank you for gifting 10 subs. Oh my goodness, I was talking about people being generous, and here it is. And Fazoo gifting 4 subs as well. Lisa Casilla, thank you so much. Or KC, maybe, I don't know. Thank you so much for the 100 bits. Minecraft community seems generally super Chad. They mostly are, yes. Shepherd Spy with 100 bits as well. Thank you. So yeah, so far fishing has given us a decent fishing rod and not much else. We got a name tag out of it as well. We got more lily pads too. I like getting lily pads. It's a renewable way of getting lily pads, which is kind of nice. And man, the lure occasionally just throws you a fish immediately after you caught the last one, which is always fun. Ave, thank you so much for gifting 5 subs. And Black Steel gifting another sub to Stick Up Crew. Thank you very much. Daniel Folves, thank you so much for that brand new Prime sub to the channel. Enjoy your emotes and your sub badge. Welcome to the Pixels. Fishing has given us hype. Yes, fishing is a very hype activity in Minecraft. Sometimes feel disappointed that you can't catch actual fish swimming in the river. I mean, you can in a bucket, and technically you can probably hook them with a fishing rod, but it doesn't, like, kill them. It doesn't drag them out of the water. Why don't I enchant with my XP? I don't want to do any enchanting on stream, because I would prefer it to occur in videos, so that I don't suddenly have, like, an OP diamond sword, and then people are like, did you cheat that in between episodes? How does my background color change? That is a piece of software called Lumia, which runs in the background on my PC, and people in the chat can use their channel points to switch it into different colors. Although I think the nanoleaf panels are a little bit too bright right now, so I might turn down the brightness so you can see the patterns a bit better. It's at 50% right now. Let's put it around 35. Because I've noticed some of them, like some of the pride flags especially, tend to get a little bit blown out by the camera, and I don't want that to happen. So hopefully that's a little more visible. There we go. Some Minecraft grass block action for you. Am I going to make a 1-block series in 118? Nope, probably not. I'm going to be sticking with the survival guide as my primary series, and I don't tend to want to make multiple Minecraft series at once when I'm this early on in a series, because it splits the audience up. Like, you end up with half the people asking for survival guide, the other half asking for skyblock, and like, you get the impression that people are watching each series less than they would if you were just sticking to one thing. And right now, giving like the tutorial side of Minecraft is really my focus. Have I seen Spider-Man No Way Home? I have not. No, we don't have Disney Plus, and I haven't really been out to the cinema, so we haven't been able to see it in theaters. I'm honestly, like, I haven't seen any of the new Marvel movies since the last Spider-Man movie, the one with Mysterio, and I think I only watched that, like, I think it was, like, on the plane somewhere. Might have been last time I went out to the States, I can't really remember, but after Infinity War, I just kind of was done with Marvel for a while. Like, I haven't seen a lot of the more recent stuff, and I haven't been following all of the new stuff they've been putting out on Disney Plus, because we don't have Disney Plus. Esgotro gifting a sub. Shadowstar gifting another sub as well. Thank you so much. Castle Line with 100 bits. Matt D with the 300, and Shadowstar with another 100 as well. Thank you all so much. Matt D asked if I was planning on remaking the map art from Season 1, but the survival guide made in copper under the Minecraft logo. Maybe. I might end up doing that. I might even create the 4 different versions, because we can do the copper one, the diamond one, the gold one, and the netherite one that I just started to introduce when we went to the nether. And so we can do each of those locking the map each time, so I don't have to move the word Minecraft. I can just move the word survival guide and just replace those. Liara, thank you so much for 40 months. Hope you're well. 40 months, gosh, that's a lot. Thank you so much. Welcome in. When am I going to go caving? Maybe like an hour and a half into the stream. We'll do like a half and half kind of stream today, I think. What mob did I vote for? Mob C, the Great Hunger. Nearly 3.5 hours of haunting this place. I think you mean 3.5 years. Wow, that answer gave me nostalgia. I mean, right? Mob C, the Grindstone. Jeronif, thank you so much for the 100 bits. Thank you for all the support, people. The height training is on level 4. Been a while since it's been up there. PH Bean with the 2 months as well. Thank you very much. Sentient Grindstone real mob idea? I mean, it was back in 2017. The 2017 mob vote, when they announced the update Aquatic, included a mob that basically had the functionality of the Grindstone. It would come up from the ground and eat enchantments, and then spit the items back out unenchanted. And people were like, why would we do that? And then the Grindstone is one of the most useful workstations. Do I want dynamic lighting in vanilla Minecraft? No, not at all. The problem with dynamic lighting, and I think it's part of the problem the developers have with it as well, is it lies to you about where things can spawn. And I find any kind of changes to lighting in caves, whether it's a night vision potion or dynamic lighting, really distracting, because even though it's easier to light up caves now because of the changes to mob spawn light level, it's still kind of difficult to exactly determine where the darkest spots in a cave are to use torches more efficiently without just applying a very mathematical grid approach to the whole thing. And so dynamic lighting annoys me because it looks like an area is fully lit up when you walk into it holding a torch or whatever, and then it's not lit up. And the same goes for like firing flame arrows around or glow squid swimming around, for example. And I get that for aesthetics it works very well, but for the functionality of the game I think it's a misstep. So I don't think dynamic lighting should be part of vanilla at all. I think it's fine that it's part of Optifine because then it's optional and people can mess around with that stuff if they want to, but I do think it's not right for vanilla Minecraft. So in theory our fishing catch rate should be through the roof now it's raining, but apparently, from what I understand, lure and fishing during rain both decrease your fishing wait time to the point where it can actually loop back around on itself, because if it reduces your wait time to like less than 0 seconds once the bobber hits the water, then it apparently just re-rolls it and tries again. So in some cases this might actually take longer because we have a more efficient rod. I don't know if that's actually the case, and it probably averages out to work out better, but still quite funny. When am I going to beat the dragon? Whenever I feel like it. Whenever it feels natural for the series. But there's a lot more basic stuff we need to explore before we get into the end game and fly around with Elytra and stuff. So, not for a while. I'm thinking, like, maybe around episode 40 or 50 of the series, we'd get into doing stuff with the end. But in the meantime, I could do, like, whole episodes on basic redstone farms. I could do a week's worth of stuff on villagers. We could do a lot of exploring in the overworld. We can do spawner mob farms. We can do general mob farms, although they're probably better to have Elytra for so that we can fly up and down to and from them. What was my least favorite part of 118? Kind of a double-edged sword, really, but it's the rain. I think the fact that we can't sleep constantly to make sure it doesn't rain in the world makes it difficult to make videos sometimes, because you don't always want the rain to dampen the mood. Pun only half intended. It's not even necessarily about the video compression problem, which has been a thing on YouTube for a while. Now I'm recording in 4K and everything, like it's Oh, Power 3 mending. Hey, not bad. Yeah, now I'm recording in 4K. You can get around the video processing issues. That's presuming people watch in 4K. But it's much more just about, like, wanting to have consistency in a recording. So if I cut and I want to, like, continue a thought somewhere else, and then in the meantime it starts raining, I have to wait another 5 to 10 minutes so that I can get rid of the rain. Can't wait till the redstone part's very interested in learning more about basic redstone. Yeah, and I'm wondering if we're going to make an episode that's just like, here are all the components and what they do. Because people always ask me to make a video like that, but I don't think they're useful. My philosophy about redstone is that it's much easier to learn through practical examples of how components work than it is to understand the theory. And this is more to do with the way my brain processes information, but I find that technical manuals about that kind of stuff are just impenetrable to me. I don't understand them. Like, if I read about redstone on the Minecraft wiki, and if I learn, like, the basic kind of terminology behind some of it, it, like, goes in one ear and out the other. Like, if you start talking to me in logic gates, I have no comprehension of that stuff. And so I think if I tell you a comparator has 4 functions, it will compare between 2 redstone signals and output either the addition of those 2 or the subtraction of those 2. It will read the position of an item in an item frame. It will read the contents of something in a container and output a redstone signal proportional to the fullness of that container. People still come away from that saying, okay, but what does it do? And, like, how do I use it is the question they want to ask, but they don't always think about it in those terms. And so, like, how do I use this component is a very different question, and it comes in much more into, like, practical examples of, like, here's what we can do with a comparator versus here's what a comparator does in a vacuum with no other stuff around it, right? I think it's much more... I think it's counterintuitive to the way some people learn, maybe. But I think the majority of people are going to learn better from being able to build stuff with redstone first, and maybe then going into the theory once they have a better chance of understanding practically what does this do. It's kind of like seeing the code before looking at the game, if you see what I mean. Like, I don't quite vibe with that kind of way of teaching things. Even that brief description of what a comparator does was really helpful. I mean, thanks. I've had some time to think about it and narrow it down. And that is something that I've only really been able to internalize after a long time spent working with them practically. And I'm only now understanding the theory for myself, and even then I'm probably getting some things wrong. The biggest real uses for comparators are in sorting systems. Exactly, which is why one of the first things we're going to do is probably going to be a sorting system. Oh, the other thing comparators do is that they can repeat a signal at the same strength that it enters the comparator. So, like the way a repeater will boost redstone signals so it goes back to a maximum signal strength on the opposite side, a comparator continues it. So if you end up with like a signal strength of 12 going into a comparator and you put redstone dust coming out the other side, it will be 12 on the other side of the comparator as well. So it extends it by 1 block, basically, which can be very useful if you want to keep a consistent like redstone signal throughout a circuit. But there's a lot of stuff you can do with comparators. They're pretty powerful. Learn by making mistakes and want to do it hands-on to learn what it is / does. Yeah, that's exactly me. Like, I think we are so often concerned about making mistakes in Minecraft when there are very few things that can come across as completely catastrophic. Like, if I'm showing you how to use basic redstone components, I'm not going to do it with a TNT at the other end, right? Like, I'm going to do it with, you know, redstone lamps and observers and pistons and mechanical tactile things that you can, you know, explain. Sorry, I just got distracted by my partner yelling the word kitty, so I presume there is a cat outside. Where is it? Is it the red one? Ah. If I open the blinds, I might be able to.
I don't know if you can see it from this angle.
Yeah, not sure.
Where it's sitting in the, well, you kind of can.
It heard I was fishing.
Yeah, it's the little ginger that's perched up on the...
Cute.
Sorry. I was just pointed out if you can see it. You couldn't see it.
Yeah, I've got the blinds closed in here. It's fine anyway.
Anyway.
Chat says hi.
Hello. Goodbye.
Hmm? Yeah. Do that. They're streaming a bit later. Mumbo made a 1-minute video explaining how a comparator works. Exactly. Yeah, like you can explain how a comparator works, but like how to use it and what practical applications it has in a survival world are two very different things. And Mumbo, for his part, incredibly good at explaining Redstone. Like, there's a reason that his channel rose to the prominence it had basically on the strength of his Redstone tutorials. Because, like, yeah. Man knows how to explain stuff at this point. And, like, he is one of those people who will use phrases like RS nor latch and I glaze over. But he's very good at showing the practical steps of building stuff like that. And so if you wanted to learn Redstone, yeah, that's a very good place to start. But I think a lot of his stuff is done from the context of it being built in a creative world, and a lot of the time he's building stuff with Redstone which doesn't necessarily have a practical purpose for survival. Like, it's not necessarily helping in your survival game. It's much more just about, we're doing this with Redstone because we can and because it produces a fun effect. But, you know, chances are some of the stuff he builds you don't necessarily have to build in a survival world for your own benefit. Yeah, it's quite simple, really, is of course the catchphrase. Learning Redstone from Mumbo is like learning painting from Michelangelo. I mean, yes and no. I think Mumbo is very accessible as a teacher. I think his stuff is very well presented, and a lot of the time he explains stuff in terms that are easy to understand if you have a foundational knowledge of what you're looking at. But again, it's a lot of it isn't necessarily from the perspective of a survival player. Or if it is, it's a survival player who builds wacky Redstone stuff all the time. You can tell that Mumbo likes cinematography. Yes, exactly. Clearly one of his passions, and it's done very well for him. Flame and mending, interesting. Definitely leaning towards the prowl side of bows. Most of the Redstone tutorials you watch are from Mumbo. Yeah, I mean, he's done a lot of them. Is this hardcore survival? No. You can tell if it's hardcore or not because the hearts look different. And this is not. This is a tutorial world. This is where I make a lot of my tutorials for the Minecraft survival guide. So there's not really any sense in it being hardcore because I don't want to have to repeat myself if I end up dying in some kind of silly way. Hope I had a wonderful holiday. Holiday was good. It was chill. We just hung out at home. And it's our first time really spending Christmas in this house. So yeah, it was nice. We had a family Zoom call. Will there be a death guide this season? I mean, probably. It was a fun episode to do last time. Montrock, the shadow block syncing thing is unfortunately patched in 1.18. I was talking about that earlier, and I felt like it was inevitable that it would be patched because, frankly, it's one of those things that just optimizing certain things about the game, just like changing a couple of things behind the scenes, would probably fix incidentally, almost. Like, it seems like the kind of thing that if you just remove one behavior of comparators, for example, like if comparators break when you open a trapdoor, then that would resolve the entire, like, it would break the method for setting that up in the first place, right? And yeah, I get the sense that Mojang didn't want that kind of stuff in the game because that's not really how the game is meant to be played, and as an exploit, it was relatively easy to set up. How am I planning to get villagers near my base? Find a village or cure zombies? Bit of both, probably. We'll probably go out and find villagers first, because I expect that people will probably, if they're newer to Minecraft, find villagers, find a village naturally before they go into curing a zombified villager, right? Got another bow. Unbreaking 3, Power 3. Hey, that's good. My current bow has Unbreaking 3, Power 3, Infinity, and Punch. I'm not necessarily looking to upgrade from the bows I fish up here, but I'm just kind of curious. What up, Maud? Thank you so much for the 17 months. Appreciate that very much. Happy Thursday to you. What's going to be the theme of the next episode? Tomorrow is all about horses. Also donkeys and mule. Just a singular mule, because there's only one. What was the Shadow Block exploit? So Doc M, in his most recent season of Hermitcraft, demonstrated an exploit that was found by a couple of people from the technical community. Fallen Breath is the name I can remember. And... Hello? Oh, we still got that one. Nice. I took my hand off my mouse for a second and a fish bit. So the Shadow Block thing was an exploit whereby Minecraft could be tricked into synchronizing an inventory space from a storage container like a hopper with an inventory space in your inventory. So it would effectively, like, clone a stack. Kind of. Like, it wasn't necessarily a duplication bug. What it did was allow you to remotely access inventory, or inventory, depending on how you want to pronounce it. So you could have, for example, in Doc M's case, they had a setup where he had a double chest full of fireworks that was constantly refreshing a stack in a hopper or another chest or something like that. And that would be synced up to your inventory so that no matter how many rockets you spammed, the double chest there was refilling the rockets in your inventory from across the server, as long as you set up this particular contraption in the spawn chunks where they were constantly loaded on a server. And that would allow you to effectively have infinite rockets at your disposal, provided you had an infinite supply of them back in the storage chest. Watch his video about it, because it's wild, and you can immediately see the potential of it. It does require update suppression, which is basically forcing the game to almost crash so that it doesn't process that things are going wrong around it, and that allows you to do some technical wizardry, which results in the exploit being possible. And yeah, Doc uses it a little bit in Hermitcraft, and I really felt like because the season was so short, it wasn't used to its fullest potential. But then again, it was patched almost immediately, so perhaps he didn't want to rely on it and then not have it when the next update came around, right? But it was really interesting to watch in action. Like, it was... If you imagine somebody staying on Minecraft version 1.17 for a while, like if Psycraft decided to do their next season on 1.17, you could see them having a lot of fun with that. But I think they're moving on to 1.18, aren't they? Like, relatively soon. We've got name tags in there. We have so many saddles now. It's a good thing we have horses. I'll probably put the lily pads up in there as well. Why have I left the hardcore series? If you watch the hardcore series, there's a video explaining why I left the hardcore series. Basically, I wasn't having fun. That's what it boils down to. It's more complicated than that, really, but it got down to the fact of me not wanting to continue the series beyond 1.17 because I always thought, I'm going to start a new survival guide. It's not going to be hardcore because it's going to be a tutorial-focused series. But then I didn't want to make too much progress in the hardcore world because, you know, what if I died and then I just don't get to do a series after that? And it was splitting time between that and Empires that was just causing me to mentally not have a very good time with it. But yeah, I don't tend to like hardcore all that much. I'll play it when it's a bunch of friends hanging out together like it was at the beginning of December with Don't Die. But then, you know, I died on that server a week or so in, and then I'm like, well, now I don't get to have fun with my friends. This sucks. I don't really like hardcore all that much. And it's a little bit harder than just being like, hey, just don't die, forehead, because like there are a ton of ways to die in Minecraft and none of them are good. Like, there is no way to die in Minecraft that could not be avoided. That would defeat the point of the game and the point of having a hardcore thing to begin with. But the amount of people who have died on Don't Die December this time because of just a random creeper wandering up to them in a cave and creeper explosions being quite powerful. Like, before they had full netherite armor and whatnot, you know? Like, it just happens that way sometimes. Johnny17, thanks so much for the Prime sub. Brand new Prime sub to the channel. Enjoy your emotes and your sub badge. Welcome to the Pixels. Can I do a tutorial about flower forests and changes in the flower map? I don't know if I can do a tutorial about changes in the flower map, because comparing the two of them would be kind of strange, considering that world generation has completely changed. I don't know if that would really be relevant information, but I'll definitely go to a flower forest at some stage. I haven't found one yet, to my knowledge, but yeah, we'll definitely encounter one. Do I feel the same way about Nuzlocke? I mean, Nuzlocke is a different thing, because Pokemon is a game with a set like way of doing things. Like, Pokemon isn't a sandbox game. Multi-shots. It begins with an M, so we're close. Yeah, like Pokemon is like a linear game, whereas Minecraft is a sandbox world. You should be able to go anywhere and do anything. Like, different story. But then again, I'm not really that into playing that side of Pokemon either. I just enjoy playing Pokemon for the fun of it. Do I have lure on this fishing rod? Yeah, I have all the enchantments on this one. Lure, unbreaking, mending, luck of the sea. Several YouTube channels dedicated to other creators' deaths in hardcore worlds. Spoiler, all of them find it pretty devastating. Of course, but I think the thing with me is that I'm so stoic as an individual that my reaction on dying in a hardcore world would not be that interesting to people. I'd just be like, oh, well, that's that then, you know? Like, I feel like even that would be a disappointment. Curse of Vanishing Fishing Rod. Are there any different Iron Farm designs in 118? I mean, Iron Farm designs have evolved over the last little while, but the mechanics behind Villager Iron Golem spawning has not changed in 118, as far as I'm aware. So, yeah, there shouldn't be much different about the designs from 114 onwards. No, you can't get mending from an enchantment table, Shishwami. This is why we're fishing for it. And we're not fishing specifically for mending. It would just be nice if we got it. I'm fishing just to get whatever I get, really. They fixed item shadowing in 118. Yes, they did. Your 114 Iron Farm still works in 118.1. There you go. There's your proof. Yeah, the only thing that has changed since 114 came out originally, I mean, there are a couple of things that they tweaked about 114, but now villagers no longer need workstations. They just need beds. So they don't need to work throughout the day to produce iron golems. They just need to sleep. I think that's the only thing that's different. Do I think villagers are OP and need to be nerfed? No. Fire Protection 3. I don't think villagers need to be nerfed because, to be honest, they are just one option, right? Like, I understand that for some people it seems easy to exploit, let's say, but you've got to consider the circumstances around the exploitation of, say, zombifying and curing a bunch of villagers so that you get discounts, you're getting enchanted books for 1 emerald, that kind of stuff. Like, it is rare that that occurs in a context in which other people would find it unfair. Because those other people will just be able to do it themselves in that case, you know? Like, it can't really be used in a competitive context. And frankly, anything that you can get from villagers, you can pretty much get another way if you don't like that style of gameplay. I think that one of the things about Minecraft that people often overlook is the fact that you get to set your own rules for this game, and you don't have to do stuff the most quote-unquote efficient way. Like, you can do it in a way that feels fun for you. If the fact that villagers can be so heavily exploited feels boring to you, play the game a different way. Like, I feel like if anybody is trading with villagers begrudgingly, they should probably not be trading with villagers. It's like people who want a little bit more balanced combat. And yes, it is, after a certain fashion, up to the developers of the game to provide an experience that's satisfying to everybody. But if you're walking around in netherite armor with netherite equipment because it's the most OP, then you're not going to have such a tough time in combat with stuff. Hello? What happened there? Weird. Yeah, I have no idea what just happened. Very confused. Anyway, I decided to put some stuff away. That's all I've done. Let's throw the bone in there and let's get back to it. Yeah, I have no idea what just happened. Internet must have just gone out for a second and cut my stream off. I don't know. Well, that's going to make uploading this as a VOD fun, isn't it? Welcome to part 2. I'll probably just download them both, actually. It's a short enough thing to stitch together as long as it doesn't keep happening. Very strange. So many turtles around here. This like Riverland area has like 8 turtles just in this this one stretch. It's quite fun. Is there a ghost in my house? I hope not. A while ago we did find this is such a weird ghost story. A while ago we did find a child's handprint on the other side of our conservatory sliding door. We think it was probably just there from the previous residents. But, yeah, a little bit creepy. You remember that story? Yeah. And it was after we'd lived here for a while, and it was a pretty obvious reminder to us that we hadn't cleaned every surface in the house. But that was like a couple of years ago. And since then I've watched a lot of like BuzzFeed Unsolved videos, and it seems entirely like the kind of thing that would just be like the most basic tier of ghost evidence. But yeah, it was pretty funny at the time. I still have a picture of it somewhere. Baby zombie? Yeah, probably. Did the stream crash? Yeah, no, it did. I don't know what happened. Like, normally it will tell me something on my stream dashboard, but it basically was just like, no, you're not streaming anymore. What? Of course I am. How dare you? It's the Wandering Trader? Definitely the Wandering Trader. I think he's still out in the ocean over there, because the chunks unload when I come back here. So I think he may still be over there. Should we go say hi? I have some emeralds now, actually. So I'm kind of tempted to make my first villager trade the Wandering Trader. But I'm not going to be trading with him on stream, if that be the case. I just want to see if he's still there. I've got my boat with me. Been taking the boat basically everywhere. See if we can spot him from here. Yep, we can. So funny. Where did I find the emeralds? In a shipwreck loot chest. Is there magma down there? Yeah, there is. That's so funny. Better rivers make the boat more useful. They do, yeah. It's really nice getting around by boat. Also, you notice how much of this is oxidizing now? Yeah. Pretty soon it's going to be lovely and blue. I say pretty soon, I mean within the next 2 weeks. Got all your first diamonds from shipwrecks? It happens pretty easily, I gotta say. Wish the trader didn't spawn in water. It doesn't happen as often on Java. I don't know why he's there right now. I think he may have just followed me, but from where, I don't know. Having a hard time looking for the other side disk. Do I have any tips? Look up the orientations of strongholds. Like, look up the coordinates at which you are likely to find strongholds. Because they exist, in Java Edition at least, in a series of rings going outwards from the center, and you can usually find them based on coordinates. Once you find one stronghold on any given ring, you can divide that ring into the number of strongholds that are supposed to generate in that area, and they're usually like an equal distance from each other. So if you search a bit more systematically, you can work out where some of the other strongholds should be. And then it's just a matter of luck. Alternatively, just go caving. Have fun caving. If you stumble on a dungeon, it might have a music disc in the chest, and it might be the other side. Because on Don't Die December, I found my copy of Other Side just in a random dungeon. Am I ever going to have a non-guide series like Wattles? I mean, I did the Empire's SMP for a while. I know that's an SMP, and people think that's significantly different, but I'm not planning on doing like a long-form single-player Let's Play. I like doing the tutorial stuff when I'm in single-player. It gives me something to talk about. Because a lot of the time I feel like my commentary just ends up being like superfluous or uninteresting if I'm not explaining what I'm doing at the time. And if I do that, then I feel like I would get more done in an episode, but the episodes would take longer because I wouldn't have anything significant to say until I'd completed something I was doing. I feel like my commentary has a lot more focus, and I feel a lot more confident that it's interesting if I'm talking about the game and explaining aspects of it as I go. Nice that you can actually use Other Side in videos. Yeah, because the problem with Pigstep was not that Mojang had said you couldn't use it. It was that people sampled Pigstep and uploaded the tracks that they had made with the samples to the Content ID system. So people were getting DMCA'd based on a track that wasn't even Pigstep, but used bits of Pigstep, which is really irritating. But Lena Rain has clarified this on Twitter and said that that was never the intention with Pigstep. It was just an unfortunate side effect of the system being terrible. So, there it goes. I'm hoping that the same doesn't occur with Other Side. How often do I play Minecraft just for myself and not for a YouTube series? Almost never. I've done it a couple of times recently. Like, I'd play a bit of Minecraft Bingo for fun a couple of times, and then I decided I wanted to stream it. Like, I'll hop into this world and make a little bit of progress, but it's always just going to be towards a YouTube video at the end of the day. Last time I played Minecraft without recording it was, I don't know, probably when I used to play on Xbox. Like, ever since I started playing on PC, I was playing with the intent of making videos. Whether they were, you know, just hobbyist videos at the time, or whether it was stuff I do now professionally. It's, yeah, it's always been for videos. Crossrunner3, thank you so much for the 8 months. Haven't been able to catch many streams since August, but still happy to support. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I have so many streamers who I'm subscribed to that I don't watch on a regular basis, but I think they're worth supporting anyway. So thank you. It means a lot. I'm planning on beating the Ender Dragon 20 times in this season like I did previously. Probably, yeah, because you may as well have all of those end gateways established, right? Small Cats, thank you for gifting a sub to Prowl. What's up, Prowl? So many enchanted bows. Flame Power 4? Might actually put that on this eventually. If I feel like combining them. Do I have a car? I don't know. I don't drive. I can drive. I have a full license. I just never owned a car. It's useful to know how to drive, but I leave the house so infrequently, especially now, but also just generally, that I don't tend to need a car for the places I go. The UK has a relatively decent public transport system, depending on where you live. Brighton is one of those places that's just like bus networks all over the place. So I can get basically anywhere in town that I want to, and that includes to the train if I want to go elsewhere. I will occasionally hire a car, but I've not owned a car. Very different to other countries in the world where you basically have to own a car to do anything. America in particular. Because it's so big. Obviously there's other cities like, you know, I think Boston, New York, there's a couple of places that are fairly metropolitan. Anywhere that has like a subway system is usually okay. Can't live with a car without a car. Also, the US, yeah. And yeah, like my partner's family is from California. I get it. It's a big place. A lot of cities with public transport and everything, you need to not own a car. Yeah, I mean, you also have to live in the city. Or live in a suburb of the city that is well enough connected to the public transport system. Depends entirely what you do. Like, I feel like I'm a lot better off without a car just because I work from home. But, like, if I had a commute, I don't know, I might own a car by now. If I had to, like, go into Brighton every day. I'd probably still get the bus for as long as I could, but especially right now, I'd definitely consider owning a car just so I could travel more privately, which creates its own problems, right? What time is it? Yeah, I think we might go caving. Probably going to leave the fishing rod here and do some caving. Because I'm not really fishing for anything in particular. Like I said, it'd be fun if we got mending, but I'm not that worried about it. I feel like leaving myself without a mending book from fishing means that we can solve that problem by going looking for a village, and that gives us another good excuse to go looking for villages. Got rid of your car too expensive? Yeah, exactly, that's the other thing. Like, at this stage, I don't know if I would want to own a car simply because the expenses of upkeep would outweigh the benefits of me having a car. Mugen Lol, thank you so much for the 5 months. You and your kid have been watching me for a few years now, really enjoying the content. Hey, thank you. Taking public transport outside a school trip only once? Yeah. Yeah, in the UK it's much more commonplace. Right, I think we'll be okay. I think I'll leave the chests and stuff here. We'll take the... We'll leave the boat. We don't need the boat. I've got depth strider on my boots. We don't need the boat. We've got a water bucket. We need to take any big falls. And I'm going to head back down to the cave that we already explored part of for today's video. Love an electric car. Gas prices are astounding. Yeah. Bring the ender chest with me? I have. And the Silk Touch pickaxe means I can pick up all this cobblestone as cobblestone. Wait a minute.
Well, that's just prime.
Excite Mike, thank you for the Prime sub. Brand new Prime sub to the channel. Enjoy your emotes and your sub badge. Welcome to the Pixels. Happy to have you. One of these days I'm going to come down from that. There's going to be a creeper right there. It's going to blow up, and I won't care because we're playing on normal. Do I have any plans for speedrunning Minecraft? No, not really my cup of tea. Don't even have a cup of tea right now. If one of these zombies drops a carrot, I'm going to be both excited and very annoyed. Oh well. For more on my eternal struggle to get carrots in this playthrough, see tomorrow's video. First of all, we're going to get some coal, because we're going to spend a fair amount of this below deep slate level. And we will need coal for that. Hello? You thought you could get me, but you couldn't. Hearing a couple of zombie noises around. Interesting. Curious. Where's my Silk Touch pick? I have it in my inventory. I'm just using Fortune because I want to get coal. There it is. Going to ignore most of the copper for now because I have so much copper. Okay, just part of the mine shaft then. Hello? Cool. Bit of mine shaft. Non-updated water block. You'll love to see it. What's up, Ali? Welcome in. What's my favorite building block but in 1.18? I don't know if I have a favorite building block right now. I think I'm still trying to figure out my play style, my my building mojo in this series. Alright, just a tiny bit of mineshaft. I'm sure it goes off into different directions, but I get the sense this is just a little offshoot of the mineshaft that we have over there, you know? Just a little disconnected section that got cut off by a wall generating somewhere. This is really quite the cave system, you know? Ain't it just? Think you know my favorite block? I mean, my favorite block, yes, but I don't tend to build with emerald ore much. There we go. Spiders jumping up and down trying to beat the system. I'm actually going to keep spider eyes for once. Don't need more than one bow. And there was somebody in my comments for like the longest time insisting that I go and check out this cave in this certain location near my base, and I was like, can you not just spoil stuff for me? Let me explore by myself. But I wonder if they meant this one. This doesn't look like a huge vein, even though there's copper ore there. The ore formation isn't streaky enough, and it's not like all over the place. Oh, okay. That's a cave. It's a cave right there. I don't think that lava lake is 50 blocks long. Unfortunately. A lot of zombies around here. It's almost like it's a dark cave. Unknown, thank you for the 100 bits. And the good luck. These skeletons, man. On normal difficulty, you can at least dodge around them a little bit. Like, they're not going to constantly bullseye you while you're moving. But if you stand remotely still for a second, they'll still get you. Hey, look, another iron ingot from a zombie. This is intense. There's a lot of cool stuff here. Like, if I check my corners a little bit here. I always look from a distance at stuff like this, because I'm like, is that diamond ore or is that just glow lichen? Most of the time it's glow lichen. And other times it's like the zombies t-shirt standing out, you know? It's still so cool. Had no idea difficulty affected their aim. I didn't realize that until very recently. I think we had a discussion about it here on stream. I think somebody might even have brought it up, and I said that was not something that I was aware of. But it is the case. I tell you what I want to go caving for right now. It's not even resources like iron and copper and whatnot. It's not even diamonds and that. It's the stone types. Because I feel like one of the changes in this that's really going to change building is the fact that most people are going to be strip mining as low as possible in the world to get diamonds, because diamonds are more common down there. And that's going to lead to more people having more deep slate than they have cobblestone. And I find that really strange. But that seems to be the way it's going. And so I kind of wonder how many people are going to start building with deep slate, because cobblestone is just going to be less common from people having strip mined less. I've had a couple of people in my YouTube comments, and maybe even on streams, that I've just kind of glanced at the chat and internalized this comment in particular. But I've had a few people say, like, I find mining in late game kind of miserable now. So I'm making a cobblestone generator to get more cobblestone. And I think that's just personal preference, right? I feel like people want to go mining for diamonds, but they're doing it at a level where they're only getting deep slate. But the fact that there are different places to go for different types of ore and things is changing the way a lot of people play the game. I wanted to go down this way, is the main place I wanted to go. Because right down here looks like it's a slightly more shallow cave for a start. There's also some more mineshaft action this way. And that's the stuff that we've already done on camera in the series, so I don't mind exploring it here on stream. That cave back there I might save to go into in future, just because it looks a little bit more interesting. Pumpkins, yeah, I used jack-o'-lanterns to light this place up because I came in via an aquifer. Thank you. Yeah, I came in through an aquifer, and so I was using block-based light sources because torches couldn't be placed underwater, and I wanted things to be more visible for the YouTube video. I tell you one thing I am looking for down here, that if we have any of it, then we will definitely silk touch it, is stuff like deep slate coal. The blocks that are supposed to be more rare because coal doesn't generate as much below certain coordinates now. You can still find it, it's not completely gone, but it's definitely tougher to get hold of. How do I keep myself motivated after all this time in Minecraft? The good thing about Minecraft is it keeps updating. Really, that's the key to it, is find new things you want to do with the updates. Or occasionally, if you're like me and you make a tutorial series about Minecraft, every so often you need to make a new tutorial series because everything's different. So you end up recycling ideas a bit. So at this point, I'm kind of making the same series I was before, but exploring what's different from last time. And I'm really enjoying it, because a lot is different. Do I prefer crafting rails or taking them from mineshafts? To be honest, it doesn't matter to me where I get them from. I don't tend to craft them as much, but I will definitely craft them, especially once I have an iron farm. Iron farms are even less necessary now because you get so much iron from mining. Find one of those huge iron veins with fortune. Even better, find one of those and have a beacon already, so that you can break the tough instantly. You get so much iron from that.
Television advertisements. I think Eat Fresh is a great slogan. They managed to convince an entire continent, if not the globe, that eating a foot of bread was something.
There we go.
good for.
What do I think of duping rails and TNT? Personally, I think TNT is fine because there's some cool stuff that we can do with that. I know it's not ideal, and ideally there would be other ways of being able to create the same effects. I mean, even stuff like movable dispensers, which are a thing in Bedrock but not in Java Edition, would be really helpful. But realistically, I'm fine with duplicating TNT. I don't tend to do it with rails because that's more like you're getting a block out of it, or you're getting a useful resource out of it, whereas duplicating TNT, you duplicate a primed TNT, so it explodes within a couple of seconds of it being duped. So it's not like you can stockpile TNT that way, like an item duplication glitch or something. I think it has very specific uses, and they're all for like resource automation. So I think that's a little bit different to duplicating rails. Duplicating rails is just trying to save you iron. Don't have a problem with anyone else doing it if it's the kind of thing that they want to do for a larger technical project and it's saving them a bit of time or whatever. If they can make cooler stuff because they've ended up duplicating rails, then no skin off my nose. Is this where we've been? Like, is that the zombie spawner? Because if not, that's a weird coincidence. Or is that just a lava source meeting a water source? Diamond over there. Oh no, it's just diamond. It's just lava and water meeting. That's fine. I thought for a second that that was a piece of cobblestone from a dungeon spawner. What are my plans for 119? I don't know yet. I will find out once 119 comes out. But we don't know most of what's going to happen in 119, aside from the Deep Dark and the Warden being in it. So, kind of hard to make plans for it in the meantime. Ooh, lava lake there. Yikes. I don't like areas like this, because as we just saw, creepers can come out of nowhere. Every cave is basically a ravine. Skeleton's got the jukes, until he doesn't. This is also nice to get a few more bones, because I kind of like having the bone meal in early game. Let's silk touch this. Might as well. Worth looking around though, because there's always more. Carrots, carrots, carrots. Nothing. I think that'll be it for diamonds. Pretty good though. Four diamond ore. What can we throw? What can we throw? I can probably combine the torches in a second. Carrots, carrots. Still no carrots. Is this going to be the last stream for the year? It is, yes. I don't know if I'll be streaming on Sunday yet or not. Some more diamonds over there. Switch back to the fortune pick. I'm kind of doing this the wrong way around. Like, I think it's more effective to silk touch the redstone ore because it will break down into more than 9 items a lot of the time, so you're not saving space by condensing it into resource blocks, which you would be with diamonds, but I think I'm getting few enough diamonds that doesn't matter much. My favourite wood type for boats and in general. For boats, I don't really care. I don't have a favourite looking boat. I think it's just about the functionality of boats for me. Wood type in general, probably spruce wood, although I like dark oak a lot lately. These diamonds are guarded by a creeper and some skeletons. Pretty rubbish guards, really. I think that's it for this little pile. Oh, there's one more. Didn't see you in the gloom. Do have to occasionally check the ceiling for diamonds as well. The last stream, if this is the last stream of the year, what's been my highlight in Minecraft for the year? Ooh, interesting question. Honestly, I think, even though we're now looking at the full update, seeing the first time they rolled out the experimental snapshot with the new world generation, and deeper caves and the different, like, mountain terrain and stuff, that was some of the highlights for me. Just seeing what the future of Minecraft looked like for the first time, that's pretty special. I know the data pack with the expanded underground happened before this. Before, like, the surface changes were made, but it was so cool seeing them start to implement, like, new terrain shapes and stuff. What's the best Y level to mine at for diamonds? If you're strip mining, go to -58, which is, like, just above bedrock, basically. And just start mining all the deep slate you can. If you're caving for them, just go wherever the caves are. And as low as possible, ideally. Like, you won't really find them much in stone layers anymore. Diamond in stone, like diamond ore in a stone block, is actually going to be relatively rare now. Not as rare as deep slate coal, but pretty close. Okay, just getting one diamond ore from that then. Shame. Yeah, my fortune pickaxe is so slow. Let's chuck that out. And let's throw some of this stuff in the ender chest for now. This is all from my fishing trip that I did in the most recent episodes, so don't worry about the sudden appearance of extra loot. Happy Cat, thank you so much for the brand new tier 1 sub to the channel. Enjoy your emotes and your sub badge. Welcome to the Pixels. You also had Black Beanie with the 4 months and Unknown with the 100 bits. Thank you all very much. Saved a bunch of deep slate coal from 117, yeah. It's super fun that some of the rarity of stuff has changed a little bit. Like, emerald ore is much more common now. You find it on the surface in mountain biomes. It's wild how much of it there is. Which I'm, of course, quite excited about, because I like the block a lot. Deep slate emerald ore, on the other hand, that's going to be worth looking for. In future, we'll save some redstone ore blocks as well, because we can use them as triggers for stuff with observers, but I think in the meantime, it's kind of nice to just get hold of as much redstone as possible, so when we start bigger redstone projects, we have the redstone handy, and we don't have to go looking for it, or trading with clerics or whatever. What do I think about my spawn this season of Survival Guide? It started off a little bit bland, but I'm really enjoying it. I think it's nice to not kind of give people the misconception, having seen a few other 118 Let's Plays, that they're going to be finding mountains at their spawn every single time, right? Because a lot of people will have chosen a spawn specifically because it's got a really cool looking mountain range that they wanted to build a base at. And they're totally fine. But in my case, I wanted to make sure that it was at least like a random seed, so we roll with whatever we get. And naturally, I was hoping for something that was a little bit more emblematic of 1.18, a landscape that looked genuinely different from anything we'd seen before. But I'm personally fine with the birch forest now, and it gives us a good reason to go exploring, a good reason to leave the area that we started in and go and settle somewhere else. But we're going to have to come back to the spawn area frequently anyway, because, you know, the spawn chunks are there. We can do some fun stuff with those later. It makes sense to have a few resource farms around. It makes sense to have a place that you can respawn at and be relatively safe if you broke your bed and died somewhere. So that all makes a lot of sense to me. At first I wasn't super happy with it, but after some considered thought, I think I'm a lot happier with it now. Trading with clerics is so much fun. You can basically grow lapis blocks. You can, yes. Same with redstone, really. I have so much ordinary deep slate because I've been silk touch mining it. Really need efficiency on the fortune pick. Need to repair the fortune pick as well, though. Let's go back and get those diamonds. Which were around here. Yeah, there we go. What type of cheese are cheese caves? Swiss. Possibly Leerdammer. You can tell from all the holes. Again, just one diamond ore. Definitely not finding huge veins of it unless we do some strip mining then. Which again is fine. Like I said, I don't want to make too much progress without it being in a video, but then I also don't want to do a ton of strip mining on a video. That doesn't seem like super fun to me. When am I going to go find a village? I'm torn between doing that next week and spending next week doing a bunch of like basic redstone powered farms at spawn. Like making a sugarcane farm, a pumpkin and melon farm, that kind of thing. The kind of stuff that doesn't require bone meal, because obviously while these skeletons are providing a decent amount of it as we explore here, I don't have a skeleton farm, so mass bone meal would have to be down to like either a moss farm with composters or some other kind of composter operation. The sporadic lighting gives you the creeps after a decade of one torch every 15 or less. It just feels dangerous even though it's not. Yeah, I like that though. I like the fact that you can still have atmosphere in caves. Even though obviously for YouTube and Twitch viewing it's not the best because of all the dark areas, I think it's still like keeps a level of atmosphere in here that I like. How far ahead do I record videos? I started off the season with a lot pre-recorded. I'm now basically down to it being the day before because I took a bit of time on the holidays to relax and whatnot. Moss farm would be a great way to show how to do redstone. It'd be kind of bad in my opinion because moss farms are a little bit more complicated. I honestly think the most straightforward example of a redstone farm will always, for me, be a sugarcane farm. Because it's so straightforward. It's observers, pistons, redstone dust. That's it. And then, like, a little bit of a collection mechanism. If you want lossless, then you go with minecarts and stuff. But, like, a sugarcane farm is so straightforward. And useful for the remainder of your world. And that's the thing. I think one of my favorite things about some of the redstone farms you build in early game is that you will always use them after that. Like, if you build a decent-sized sugarcane farm that's just producing sugarcane in the background permanently, you never want for paper for firework rockets when you get an elytra later. So I think we'll probably start with a sugarcane farm. Like, bamboo is another option. Like, not a flying machine-based bamboo farm, but a, like an observer-based one, kind of like the sugarcane one. Use a Tango Tech farm that doubles the sugarcane and bamboo. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of designs like that. They're all very good. You can use the same design for sugarcane and bamboo, but bamboo has the advantage of also being able to be grown with bone meal. So if you have a bone meal farm by that point, you can do some fun stuff with it, but in the meantime, it's still good. Alright, we don't need this. Let's fortune the redstone. These caves are so cool looking. They are, yeah. I like how often we have water sources just coming from the ceiling like that. Uh-oh. Looked at an enderman, didn't I? Didn't get the warning noise this time, but I definitely saw him shaking at a distance and thought, no, I shouldn't do that. Hey, Rory! Good to see you. How was your Minecraft adventure the other day? I didn't get to stick around for the whole stream, but I was enjoying what I was watching. It's always really fun seeing people who haven't played Minecraft for a while return to the game and be slightly overwhelmed, but have a good time nonetheless. Are you going to be playing more Minecraft in future, or are you sticking to a variety of stuff? Hadn't played in ages, I forgot so much. I still forget stuff about Minecraft, and I play it every day, so it happens. Has to be easier to accidentally look at an Enderman in 118 caves. Well, there's a lot less junk in the way. Like, the caves are so much wider that, yes, I think it does become a little easier to have a staring contest and lose. Alright, that arrow went straight through the creeper. I call hacks. Let's go and say hi to the skeleton over here. At some stage, I'll need to return to the surface, or at least the mine shaft, because I need more wood. Both for torches and because my shield is almost dead. I'm saying almost dead in the Twitch chat sense, where it's actually got just under half durability, but everyone thinks it's about to die. Anyone know if the console boat glitch got patched? You'd have to ask Prowl that one, if he's still around. Our resident bedrock advisor. A little bit more redstone down there. This is very much like old school ravine territory, which again is making me wary about drop creepers. I'm starting to think I may have seen enough. Boat glitch still exists? Ah, that's a shame. I hope they'll get that fixed soon, because it seems like it's game-breaking for a lot of people, and not in the good way. It's funny how being ejected into water can break your immersion. Bit more lapis. We're getting so much lapis, though. I feel like there's a little bit more of it closer to the surface, too, so we're finding it in odd little places. I'm gonna put that there so nothing can sneak up on me. Beautiful. No, I'm not using Optifine. I never end up using dynamic lighting anyway, but personally I don't want to use Optifine for the first little while, at least until I can talk about it in a tutorial video. And I don't want to make all of my tutorials instantly about, like, mods and stuff that can mess with gameplay too much. And I consider Optifine now something that can mess with gameplay, the way people tend to use it. Lapis needs more uses. I mean, it's blue dye already, which is pretty helpful. Because blue obviously breaks down into components of light blue, cyan, purple, deep slate copper. Very nice. Do I prefer flame on the bow or the sword? Definitely on the bow, because you're already not using your bow to fight Enderman, and I have problems with fire aspect when you hit an Enderman with a fire aspect sword and the Enderman just teleports all over the place unpredictably. What I want out of Minecraft mobs is predictability. I want to be able to know what they're doing so that I can counter it. Man, this still keeps going on. This is incredible. This whole cave system is just stacked. But I will probably make my way out on account of just having run out of anything I can make torches with. I've got the coal, I don't have the wood. I tell you, one ambition I have for the rest of this series is finding one of those lush caves with an abandoned mine shafts just suspended from the ceiling with chains. I think those look like the coolest. Diddy Slime! I will call him Squishy, and he shall be mine, and he should be my Squishy. Didn't even drop a slime ball. A bebe. Yeah, this cave is awesome. I love this cave. I will definitely be back. 10 out of 10 would cave again. Do caves have names? There were names the developers were using for each of them, but it was much more just about, like, the terminology they were using in-house. So I don't tend to refer to them as specific types of caves. Like, if it's larger, I call it a cavern. But, there were areas that were supposed to be called spaghetti caves because they're just kind of twisty and windy. There were noodle caves that were thinner and flatter. And then there are cheese caves which have basically like a ton more airspace in them. The way that like a slice of Swiss cheese does. Or a block of cheese. But, yeah, I don't find those descriptions particularly useful to use in a survival context. Because, like, what does this being a cheese cave really tell you? If anything, it seems kind of like weirdly... I don't want to say childish, but... Yeah, it does seem like the developers were just hungry. Do I have any tips for keeping a world and not getting bored of it? I have plenty of those tips. Basically, my entire series is that. My main tip really is to get interested in an aspect of Minecraft that you haven't really messed around with before. Like, if you're the kind of person who just doesn't understand redstone, then try making a couple of redstone contraptions based on some tutorials and, like, get some resources that way that will help you with future building projects and stuff like that. Like, if you're more into the technical side of things, try branching out in terms of building. Like, diversify your game, and you'll get much more out of it. Like, when I started the Minecraft Survival Guide, I was not really a redstone guy. I wasn't really a technical player. But I realized that sooner or later I was going to have to learn to make stuff like an iron farm, because I would need to get a decent amount of iron in my series. And so I watched a couple of tutorials, reproduced them, started to understand the mechanics a little bit better, and went from there. And now I feel like I have a much better understanding of technical Minecraft in general. But it's also just really useful in terms of expanding your interest in the game, the time you spend in the game. Let's leave the lapis blocks and stuff next to the enchantment table this time. Also, if you're a builder, try building with some blocks that you've never tried before. Try building with lapis blocks. Like, it's going to be an interesting time, but see how you do. We have a potato. We don't have any carrots. We also have 8 diamond ore in there now. Nice. Alright, so let's throw the rest of this down in the basement, and we'll probably go back to fishing. Got a decent stash of spider eyes now. And I'll need to bring some wood for torches, just so I've always got them on me. There we go. I have a lot of levels to enchant. I do, and I'll be doing that at the start of the next video, so I'm not going to be doing it now. Have I played any modded Minecrafts? A few times. Modded Minecraft has never really been my jam, though, so I've done a couple of series on it on YouTube. I played Sky Factory 3 here on Twitch a couple of times, but I never really went that far with it. Like, it's always been much more my thing to play vanilla. Because I feel like a lot of modded ends up getting a bit esoteric. It's been better in recent years, but there need to be better in-game ways of indicating what you need to do in modded Minecrafts. Because I feel like even vanilla Minecraft has only started doing that somewhat more recently with stuff like the recipe book and not relying on recipes either being intuitive or being something that you look up on the Minecraft wiki, you know? It's a pretty good bow. Basically the one I started with, give or take the unbreaking part. I think I just saw the horse through the other window. Oh, through the other window of the house, and I thought there was something there, and it was very, very disconcerting. Create Mod has a really good guide built into it, but it's one of the only mods that does it. I think a lot of the time, mod packs now have their own, like, quest books, right? So if there is a recommended progression, like the Sky Factory Advancement Guide kind of thing, like it used to have a checklist of the order that you could do stuff, basically. And you could jump around from that whatever you wanted whenever you were more confident about it. But if you wanted a way through the game, then it was better at giving you that kind of path. But I feel like individual mods don't always have that. Either that or they present it as something that's less accessible. It's much less a step-by-step guide of, like, this is what you should do first, and instead it's more like an encyclopedia, you know? You don't read the encyclopedia starting at A, you just look up the information you want to know. Yeah, Immersive Engineering has a book. Tinker's Construct has a book. A lot of them have reference guides in-game now, but it doesn't exactly tell you how to get started in the most effective way. And sometimes you need to just know that you have to look up how to get hold of the book in the first place, right? You don't always spawn with it the way you do with some other stuff. There are many exceptions that prove the rule, but for the longest time, stuff like, I don't know, industrial craft or whatever, like you'd look up a wiki that would basically tell you what to do it. And it wasn't all that helpful to me, because it was much less like, here is what is available, and much more like, okay, first you need to make some copper wires. I'm like, what am I doing this for? Turns out everything. We just got 10 ink from fishing. Wow. It's pretty good. Am I planning on a raid farm like the one I had in Season 1? Yes. Yeah, planning on doing basically everything we did in Season 1. Maybe in different ways. But even if the mechanics themselves haven't changed, the context has.
That's just prime.
So we've got to adapt it to whatever the landscape is here. We've got to find the right locations for other stuff. We might be doing it on top of a mountain or in a massive cave or whatever. Like, there's some really interesting stuff. Like, a slime farm is going to be wild. Because slimes used to spawn below Y40 all the way down to bedrock. Now they have an additional 64 blocks worth of spawning space. You could fill up the entire mob cap with slime very easily. Brackus, thank you for the 5 months. Big fan of my resource farms. Thank you. I try and make them accessible, at least. And in some cases, I'm now at the point with Minecraft where I can figure out how to make farms myself without relying on other people's tutorials for them. So I'm trying my best not to follow anyone else's guides. So a lot of the time, they won't be the most efficient resource farm around. But there are tutorials out there for the most recent, like the most efficient resource farm around if you want to go that route. My job is to make things accessible, make them a bit more survival friendly, and maybe light the fire of curiosity in people who will go and look up what the most effective way of doing stuff is. Can I tell you my favorite, most needed farm? Yes. We were talking about them earlier, actually. I think sugarcane farms are very important. If you get one set up even before you do enchanting, they can be very helpful for that. But bookshelves are really nice for decorating. You always need books for enchanting stuff. Paper and books can be traded with librarians. You need paper for firework rockets later on when you get elytra. A sugarcane farm is one of those things that you need throughout the entirety of the game. And we set one up outside the house in a manual sense in, like, episode, what, 4? And some people were surprised that it took me that long, because typically the first thing you do when you start a Minecraft world, you've got a house, you've got a little bit of food, you have your basic tools, you find some sugarcane and you replant it. Because you will need that relatively soon, and you'll just need it forever at that point. So yeah, it's probably a sugarcane farm. I mean, it's that or a farm that gets you food is probably the most essential stuff. Yu is also asking, is the Woodland Mansion still in the game? Yes, absolutely it is. They generate in more interesting places now as well, because sometimes they will generate partly enclosed in, like, a hillside, which is super fun. Got leather boots. Honestly, don't make sugarcane farms too much anymore. Planning one for your world, but trying to have a bit more context for farms in this world. Yeah, that's cool. I think it's fun to approach the game that way. And sugarcane is easy enough to find out there in the wild. Like, if you don't take all of the sugarcane each time, then it grows back. You don't have to do a massive sugarcane plot either. You can just have a few stalks of it growing and harvest them when you feel like you need to and that kind of thing. But, yeah, I'm not talking about like a, you know, tower block of sugarcane farms. Even the one I had in the Minecraft Survival Guide Season 1 was, I think, 6 or 8 rows of 8 sugarcane. Just like the length that a single water source block would hydrate the neighboring blocks for. Am I going to go to a woodland mansion at some point? Yes, definitely. I'm going to try and do everything that is in the survival game. Like, obviously there are massive builds we can do, there are massive farms we can do. I'm not going to do every possible iteration of everything. But if a feature is in the game, I want to include it in the guide somewhere. Like, I'm not going to leave that out. So, hey, fun fact. Here is something cool. Because on the last stream, we were talking about mechanics that people often overlook. And I talked about the fact that fire protection on your armor reduces the amount of time you stay on fire, as well as protecting you from damage from fire sources a little bit. Humaru, thank you for the $5. Hype for Life Survival Guide started last one late 114. Happy to follow this one live from the start. Incredible. Well, it's always really cool to hear that people are jumping on board at the start of a new season. So I'm glad you're enjoying it. So yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about those like hidden mechanics, because in the Spawn Chunks Discord, the Discord for my podcast, sometimes people do like a Minecraft fact of the day, and sometimes stuff like that comes up and it's really interesting. Like the fact that Bane of Arthropods inflicts slowness on spiders. Even though that's completely unnecessary because spiders are pretty weak and don't have much health. So today's fun fact is that illagers, if they are in the region of a naturally spawned pillager patrol, will join a pillager patrol in the same way that illagers around the site of a raid can join a raid, right? So if you're looking at like a pillager patrol that's naturally spawned, it's not part of a raid, but it's like a bunch of pillagers with one that has a patrol leader, like banner, on it. If there is a witch nearby, if there is a vindicator nearby, or an evoker from like a woodland mansion, they will join that pillager patrol and start following around the pillager captain. In addition to that, I was reading this on the Minecraft wiki and my mind was blown. If you have a Vindicator name-tagged Johnny, and he joins a pillager patrol, the Easter egg with the Johnny Vindicator, where it will attack every mob, applies to all of the other mobs in the patrol. So your pillagers will start to attack every other mob in that area, as long as it's not an illager, a baby villager, or a ghast. So the Johnny Vindicator behavior applies to the pillagers as well, if a Johnny Vindicator joins a pillager patrol. I discovered that reading the Minecraft wiki the other day, because the pillagers showed up over here, right, when I was fishing. And then whenever you move away from a group of pillagers, they start to wander off in a certain direction, and I kind of had this thought in the back of my mind of, like, what if that means they're walking in the direction of a village, and it would be a really cool thing if that kind of indicated the direction of a village, and you could follow that to find a village if you hadn't found one on your world before. Basically, because I haven't found a village in this world, I was kind of clutching at straws a little bit. But I thought, because pillagers are supposed to be antagonistic to villagers, maybe that's what they're doing, and then they get far enough away from the player and they just despawn. So I looked up the article about pillagers, and that had nothing to do with villagers whatsoever. It basically didn't prove that they were doing that, so I don't think they are. It's just a randomly chosen direction. But the Vindicator thing blew my mind, and I'm like, I have to use that now. You get a Vindicator from a woodland mansion, say, or you name tag a Vindicator from a raid, you end the raid prematurely, all the rest of the raid mobs are gone, you have a name tag Vindicator. If a pillager patrol spawns, you steal all of the mobs from that. You maybe name tag them as well so they don't despawn. Assuming that the patrol mechanic holds up. You could get them to kill everything for you. Like, it'd be really, really fun to do that. And I only just found out about that mechanic. I never knew that was a thing. Because why would you, right? Like, Unless you have a pillager patrol spawning in a place where you've already got a name-tagged Vindicator. Like, how would you know? Fascinating. Did not know that behavior existed until I read the Minecraft wiki yesterday. So cool. Too bad they'll run out of arrows still. Yeah, but again, employ them in an animal farm and they will last a while. Like, it takes a good, what, like half hour for a pillager to run out of crossbows? You could basically set up a passive mob farm, bottom of the world, and the Vindicator would last forever. Like, even if the pillagers just ended up patrolling. Could be the most cumbersome wither farm ever. I mean, the wither would destroy them, let's be real, but still. It'd be pretty funny. And I wonder if you could stack multiple patrols somehow that way. Because illagers include pillagers, right? So I wonder if you could get a pillager patrol, bus in some more pillagers from like an outpost, add in a Johnny Vindicator, and then just havoc. Could be a fun, like, iron farm concept or something, maybe. I'm curious. You could just have a patrol near an outpost and replenish the patrol every once in a while. Yeah, like, you could swap them out once they run out of crossbow ammunition. Once their crossbow breaks, right? Or if they fix that bug at some stage. Really useful for an AFK gold farm or something where you have to manually damage mobs? Yeah, I mean, basically any mob farm. You could even set it up so that... Because, you know, arrows can activate buttons. You could set it up so that the pillagers are firing at mobs that they can't hit, but they maybe hit a button instead and that causes something. I don't know. There's some cool stuff you could do. I just want to use that mechanic once in this series at some stage, because I never knew it existed before. Ooh, Protection 3. Not bad. Not bad at all, actually. The server you're on, you have an arena where if you have a mob head, you can spawn the actual mob there. You've been planning to get a load of Vindicators, name them Johnny, then spawn all sorts of mobs and place guesses on who will die first. Bruno used to do that on his streams. He used to set it up so that a bunch of Ravagers were fighting Zoglins and stuff like that. Evil Librarians, welcome in. It's your first time here. Welcome. And thank you so much for the kind words. Make it the April Fool's Day video. I don't know where we're going to be at in this world by April, you know? We're going to be doing some fun stuff by that point, I'm sure, but... We're still going through the basics right now. I can't even think about what's coming up in the next 3 months. I need to make a proper document. Like, I had one last season where I went through all of the potential ideas for upcoming episodes. And just, like, what order I wanted to explain things in. And sometimes stuff, like, injects itself in there. Like, you stumble upon a desert temple, a jungle temple, a village, or whatever. And then updates come out that change some things, right? But there's definitely some cool stuff we can do that I need to start writing down what order I want to do stuff. Steven, welcome in. We're getting a load of people coming into the stream for the first time. I really appreciate everyone stopping by. Whether it's from the YouTube announcement or if you just found me on Twitch for the first time or what, I really appreciate it. Thank you. Am I going to do something with seed maps like chunk base? Maybe, yeah. I'll at least explain that they exist because they're a really useful tool for people who don't care about finding stuff organically in their worlds. Which mob did I vote for in the latest one? I voted for the LA. I thought it sounded like the coolest. I like the design of the copper golem. I like the functionality of the glare. I thought the LA was potentially the best option of the three. I like the idea that we might be getting copper buttons with the copper golem as well, but I think the LA has a lot of really interesting possibilities. Will I be doing vanilla tweaks in Season 3? I'm not even thinking about Season 3 at this point. Like, when does Season 3 even happen? Are vanilla tweaks still a thing? I mean, probably. But, like, I doubt that if I started a Season 3, I doubt I would want to go into it with, like, data packs and resource packs all over the place from the beginning. Will there be a chunk build in Season 2? Maybe. I think as we explore fun building projects and stuff that we can do, because it's... Oh, Black Steel, thank you for gifting 5 subs. Folks in the chat who got gifted a sub, make sure you say thank you. As we explore building in the series, it's more and more difficult as a series goes on to justify building projects as tutorials, because unless you're doing a block-by-block tutorial about something, you don't really need to build stuff in Minecraft, right? Like, later on, I always take the philosophy that the survival guide becomes a guide to what's possible in Minecraft as opposed to a guide to what you have to do. And so that's why I end up doing episodes about builds, but for the most part, those feel like more of a let's play than they do a tutorial a lot of the time. But giving it some sort of theme, like it being a one-chunk build and kind of having little build challenges like that, seems like a fun way of structuring that. I did that with the 8x8 micro builds that I made for Minecraft Earth in the last season, but alas, Minecraft Earth no longer a thing, so maybe we'll do something else. Finding the original Survival Guide series, sorry, helped revive your interest in survival. That's awesome, because I think this is a super interesting game. I feel like most people don't consider the amount of depth this game has in the way that we have to in this series. So, yeah, hopefully there's something in it for everyone. Love the Hermit recaps. Didn't get enough time to watch all the Hermit's videos due to assignments. The recap videos got you up to speed. That's the idea. I know that a lot of people watch the recaps even though they watch all of the Hermits as well. And so we try and make the show for everybody, but we understand that a lot of the time Hermitcraft can be a little confusing if you can't watch every video that's going on for whatever reason. So that's kind of why the show exists in the first place. Still struggling with location marking on Xbox One. Is there an easy way to do that? Prowl had an episode about that recently. Prowl8413, who's a brilliant Bedrock guide maker, kind of similar to the type of videos that I do. He had a video about map markers recently, which I think used the system where if you place a map in an item frame, it leaves a green marker on the map indicating where that item frame is. And so you can mark things that way without having the banner marker system that we do on Java. Prowl8413. Prowl 8413. He was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he's still here. There you go. Small Cats has it right in the chat. Playing 9 years, I think I know a lot about the simplistic block game. Every video I watch, I still learn something new. I'm still learning something new. I just read the Minecraft wiki occasionally, and I stumble upon something I never knew about this game. I don't think it's possible to keep all the knowledge of Minecraft in your head all at once. Vanilla tweaks or data packs in Season 2. At some point, maybe. But even then, I don't like modifying the game all that much, and data packs sometimes go a little bit too heavily into modifying vanilla mechanics. The main goal really is to have a series that everybody can enjoy if they just have the default game installed. So I think the first thing I'm going to do is install a resource pack that lowers the shield, because as you can see right now, it's directly under my chin here. No, Dragon Ninja, I know nothing about Hermitcraft beyond just watching it as a fan. I don't know anything, like, in terms of inside information about Hermitcraft. Lower shield is one of the first things you do every update? Yeah. Yeah, I'm more or less the same. In fact, the lower shield resource pack I've been using from Vanilla Tweaks carried over update to update very well, even without downloading the latest version. Because I don't think the resource pack thing changes all that much. Wood does Instamine on your Bedrock dedicated server. Not sure if it's an intentional difference, but it is convenient. I think it's one of the things that they left in Bedrock Edition or didn't bring to Java because Java has 100% drops from TNT and TNT-based wood farms and so forth. So Bedrock needs to have a faster way of harvesting wood. Powerful fire aspect too. It's a sword or a bow. What's my favorite music from Minecraft? All of the stuff that I'm playing in the videos right now, which is the new stuff from Caves and Cliffs. I really like One More Day, which is the Lena Raine track that I've started off each episode of the new survival guide with. Other Side, the new music disc, is fantastic. Pigstep is obviously really good. There's a couple of other music discs like Cat and Stull, which are some of my favorites, but I think a lot of my favorite music from the C418 soundtrack comes from Minecraft Volume Beta, and it's a lot of the music that's in creative mode. So Tazwell, Haunt Muskie, Dryton, there's like a few others that are like really cool, more diverse within the span of a single track. I find lately that I really enjoy Lena Raine's music because a lot more of it seems to be hopeful. I feel like C418's musical feels very melancholy now, and I don't always want to have that mood in my videos. I am Waldo. Congratulations, you found me. There's unique music to creative mode. There is, yeah. It's funny because I don't play with music on in the game, so I don't really notice it all of the time, but there is definitely music that is unique to creative mode. Oh yeah, Super Joker. I've played Celeste, so I love the Celeste soundtrack. It's not just because it's slower, it's like the mood it evokes is much more I don't know, wistful sounding, I guess, but it's wistful in like a nostalgic way more than in like a hopeful way. It's kind of difficult to describe. Hey, having in-game music on because it's so inconsistent. I haven't tried it since the Caves and Cliffs update because I know there are some tracks that only play when you're in mountain biomes, lush caves, that kind of thing. Have I played horror games? Not that many. The thing is, with horror games, especially for stuff like YouTube, I'm not the kind of person who reacts super visually. Like, I'll be scared by something, but I'll more go like, ugh. Then I'll go, you know, ah, and fall out of my chair and do the kind of stuff that people enjoy watching horror streamers for. So I tend to be more stoic. So I find that it's not the kind of thing I'm interested in playing, because my reactions are always going to be underwhelming unless your idea of entertainment is, man barely reacts to Resident Evil 7 or whatever. Tell me you're British without telling me you're British, pretty much. 43 levels so far. And so many saddles. We need a whole chest for saddles now. I wonder if that should be this one, maybe. I'll probably need to make or update the command that links to the how to control Minecraft video, so that people who are curious about how I'm moving items around so fast can like have a link to a tutorial about that. Should get Jimmy to watch my guide. He needs it. He doesn't need it. Jimmy is the king of his own castle. That's why I didn't pick up the saddle from the dungeon? Yeah. You get far too many of them if you fish for more than a day. See? I just put away 20 saddles and I have another one already. You're Canadian. Does that count as British? With the technicality of being in the Commonwealth? No, you're Canadian. I don't think you want to be British anyway. I feel like Canada has done less bad stuff.
Well, that's just
Crunchy, my dudes, thanks so much for that brand new Prime sub. Enjoy your emotes and your sub badge. Welcome to the Pixels. Jimmy only thinks he's not good at Minecraft? Exactly. And I mean, other people think he's not good at Minecraft as well, from what I gather. I believe Grian said something to that effect recently, but the thing about being good at Minecraft is it doesn't necessarily make you a good content creator. Canadians are normally ruled by the Queen. I mean, she's on the currency, but I don't know what, if any, effect that has. How do I plan on ending Minecraft Survival Guide? I don't have a plan. Like, at some stage, I will probably end up feeling like this series has come to its natural conclusion and maybe I'll start another one. I don't know how it's going to end. Being a good content creator requires you to be either really good at the game or really entertaining. Yeah. Hey, Frog Queen, good to see you. Welcome in. We're doing some fishing today, nice and chill. We've done a bit of caving earlier, but it's fishing time. And we're getting some enchanted books. We have enough enchanted books to do everything except get mending on the pickaxe that needs mending. You're trying to find a lush cave in 118. You spent hours trying to find one. Any tips? Using whatever the fastest means of transport is that you currently have, whether that's elytra, if you get a horse, that kind of stuff. Just explore the surface looking for azalea trees. Because anywhere there's an azalea tree, if you dig down, there's a lush cave below it. Azaleas are the ones with the purple flowers in the leaves, so they're usually relatively easy to spot. But it may be that there's just not a lush cave very close to your spawn point, in which case you'll have to go further afield for that. Milborough, thank you so much for the 23 months of Prime. Welcome back. Hey Prowl, should I use this bow? It's got power 3 and mending, but it also has Curse of Vanishing on it. Good thing it'll never vanish, because it's got mending, right? That's not how that works. Find a desert and look for azalea. Yeah, azaleas in a desert is usually a good shout because you don't normally get trees growing on a desert. Otherwise, they're a little bit easier to spot. Maybe. Oh, another book. What do we got? It's Power for Looting 2. Looting 2 could be useful. I still need looting on this sword. I don't even have carrots yet. Can you get cursor binding books from fishing? I believe so. I believe you can get any kind of enchanted book. The cursors are technically still treasure enchants because you can't get them from the enchantment table. How can one traverse the new caves in Minecraft? Haven't played since Update Aquatic. These new caves are extremely difficult to explore. The way I tend to do it is with a bucket of water a lot of the time. Because buckets of water are extremely useful for, like, scaling higher areas. Like, if you just kind of climb a wall using a bucket of water. If you get familiar with that as a technique, look at how much this roof is oxidized now, by the way. It's so exciting. Yeah, I tend to do it that way. Obviously, it means flooding out the cave below you a little bit, but that also sweeps the mobs away sometimes, which makes it easier to handle that stuff. Obviously, you can end up with like an overhang. Let me show you, actually. Let me show you a bit of a tip here. I mean, the best way of doing it is always to kind of find a safe place to make a staircase down, because that way you don't have to worry about this bucket of water stuff to get yourself up a cave wall. But, like, even in areas like this where they have an overhang, right, you can still get from here up to there pretty easily. Start by finding the highest point where you can place the bucket of water. Get all the way up to the top and stand in one of the, like, areas of water that comes out to the sides, because those will disappear a little bit slower. So if you're quick, you can take away the bucket of water, place it up a little higher, basically swim up like this, and then if you fall, you're going to fall into the area of water that you've got left on the cave floor, so you're not going to take any fall damage. And then you're able to just get up like that. That's the way I've started doing it. It's a really neat way to climb. And obviously the bucket of water, if you're quick, can prevent you from falling and taking fall damage. But water is your friend. Can you get an azalea tree in a mesa biome? As far as I'm aware, yes. You can find them anywhere there's a lush cave below the surface. You can also grow azaleas in the mesa biome if you would like to. Hence, Joel's entire kingdom on empires. Yeah, water climbing is basically the Minecraft equivalent of a grappling hook. It's kind of my favorite thing. I do wonder if in future they'll consider doing stuff like grappling hooks, but because fall damage is such a thing in Minecraft, I wonder if it's the kind of mechanic you'd really be able to use all that effectively. You can imagine a lot of people dying very easily that way. The mule should have grown up by now, actually. There he is. Look at him. What a legend. I still don't have names for any of these, so I'll probably be taking names in a future YouTube video. When am I going to start making auto farms? I was considering either starting the basics next week, or if I can find a village next week, making next week dedicated to villagers and then doing auto farms the week after. We'll see. I have no exact schedule for this stuff, but we might do a bit more exploring and see what's out there. Now that we've got a horse, we can travel a little bit more effectively, a little faster. Fishing is probably your favorite thing to do in Minecraft. It's fun. I quite like fishing, and it gets you a lot of loot. Am I going to make an AFK fishing setup? Probably not. I mean, maybe a little bit later, but it's not the same as it used to be before 1.16. The fishing rules have changed. If you make an AFK fishing setup like you used to, you won't get any treasure from it, so... Yes, tomorrow's episode is about horses. Well spotted. Samuel. That's a good suggestion. Probably going to be wrapping up here in a few minutes' time. Just so I can get the episode edited before, like, midnight tonight or whatever. Oh, another rod. Lure 2, Luck of the Sea 2. Very nice. That's why AFK fishing is more interesting now. Yeah, I think it's kind of fun if we can do it. How do I describe my building as a builder in Minecraft? Eclectic, probably. Can Minecraft please make spider eyes compostable? Are spiders compostable though? I feel like they're more meaty. Like, a composting has to be organic. Like, you can't compost rotten flesh either. Michaeli with the 12 months. Everyone spam the word nerd in the chat, please. Thank you so much for the 12 months of Prime, the full year of supports. Enjoy your brand new nerd sub badge. Welcome to the Nerd Herds. We have a Knockback 2 book just for you. Ginger. Nred. Really? I love how you can typo a chant and everyone is immediately just spamming the wrong spelling in the chat. It's very funny. Anything else that we can throw in here? I've got like a power 3 bow in here for no apparent reason. Lily pads. Lily pads went in there. The saddles are now in this chest because I have too many of them. There we go. He's crying. The typos are spreading. The knights who say Nred. What's up, Seth? Good to see you. Nice fishing hut, thanks. I wanted to build something with a copper roof relatively early in the series because then it would start to age over time. We've almost got to the point where most of these blocks are oxidized now. I do want to keep the top half of this as regular copper. If you look at the reference image for it that I linked in the pinned comment on that video, like, the top part has an orange roof, and so I thought we can do all of that with copper. We've just got to wait for the bottom half to age, and then once I start farming bees and getting honeycomb and all of that stuff, which is another thing we could do with automated farms later, then we can work on, like, waxing all of that and everything. Do that as a separate video. How many times have I died in this world? None. I can look up the stats for you if you want. Because there's a lot of zeros in here because we haven't done a whole lot yet. But if we go on down, time since last death equal to times played, because number of deaths, 0. I've potted 9 plants and killed no players. Yeah, I haven't died yet. And we're playing on normal difficulty, so that's not a huge achievement, but I'm also a relatively careful player. I haven't, like, fallen into any massive caves, had any creepers drop on me yet, that kind of thing. 6 hours of sneaking. I sneak habitually in this game. There's a couple of reasons for it. First being, when I mine, I tend to sneak a lot. Because, first of all, when you're mining a block, right? If you sneak, you don't tend to strafe left to right as fast. So if I'm, like, mining here and I hit right, I lose my focus on that block. Whereas if I'm mining here, I can potentially, like, keep my focus on that block while I'm... There we go. Just leaving holes in that tree. I can keep my focus on the block a little bit easier, and so I don't tend to, like, drift so much if my mouse hand gets a little bit hyperactive. And also, if you're mining straight in front of you and you've got a relatively efficient pickaxe, if you're at sneaking speed instead of walking speed, you can mine in front of you without having to stop, mine stuff, keep walking, stop, mine stuff, keep walking. It's better for strip mining or branch mining. And sneaking also reduces mob detection range, yes. So I tend to sneak a lot so that I avoid, like, falling off, you know, various ledges and stuff when I'm caving, but also when I'm building I do it a lot. It's just a habitual thing. Read somewhere that blocks break faster when you're at max reach. I think that's a bedrock thing. Do I plan on making a big wheat field like I did on the previous survival guide? Maybe, but I don't know if this area is going to be the same kind of, like, medieval rustic kind of style that the previous one was. So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be at spawn if it is. I'd like to build a medieval kingdom somewhere else in the world, but not have it be, like, the central place. I want to have, and this is, like, a weird idea because it's kind of difficult to determine exactly what this style is. I can't get on the roof now. I want this area of the world to feel very, like, I want to say typical Minecraft in a way. Like, it doesn't necessarily have any distinct style to it. It's just, like, the stuff I felt like building at the time. So the average Minecraft player's base is going to be a little bit more eclectic than stylized and themed after a specific build style and idea and everything. So I want this central spawn area to just be like a collection of fun ideas that we've played around with. And then if we want to go and build in, like, a different biome somewhere that will have a specific theme for, like, we'll build, like, a cyberpunk town in a desert somewhere, or we're going to build, like, a western cowboy town in a mesa. We'll build various other bits and pieces. Like, we can do some fun stuff like that. But I think to start off with, because I'm not particularly inspired by the birch forest to build anything in particular, I sort of think this should be the place where we just sort of do whatever, you know? The cozy aesthetic. Yeah, basically. Nice to see the copper finally aging a bit. Yes, it got there. It got there eventually. Can you see the rod enchantments? It's a standard, like, everything on it rods. It's the everything bagel of fishing rods. It's mending, lure, luck of the sea, unbreaking. Interested in what I do for bases in the ocean biomes. The one thing I would say about bases in an ocean biome is I'm not going to build something that's just a big glass dome. Because I feel like that's what everybody does. And I understand why. Like, a lot of the archetypal stuff that we have for underwater civilization tends to be big glass dome. But I think there's some other cool stuff you can do. It's either big glass dome or it's Rapture from BioShock. That's the two underwater builds people do. Nothing against anybody who does that. I just want to do something different. Cosmic, thank you for gifting us up to Zero Fox. Very kind of you. Multiple glass domes with glass tunnels. Exactly, right? And you want to be able to see the water around you. That's kind of the point. So yes, the idea that you can look up and you're just surrounded by the ocean is kind of the appeal of big glass dome. But still. I like the idea of building a ruined city of some kind down there as though the area has been flooded or something like that. Like, there are some wild examples of, like, reservoirs or valleys or stuff that have been flooded, and usually, like, the local population has been forced out, and so there are drowned towns in, like, areas of Asia, like in China and a few kind of places like that, I think. There may be examples of it in Western countries as well. I'm just thinking like the most recent examples I can think of. So, yeah, maybe we do something like that. Maybe it's a little bit of a macabre subject matter and we do something different. I don't know. Do an underwater base without draining the water? Yeah, I mean, if you put a conduit up, you can do that. Enough water-breathing potions and conduits, and you can do a lot. Yeah, we're definitely doing cave builds, of course. It's the Caves and Cliffs update. How can we not? But I think I want to find the right place to do that. I would ideally like to find a place where it transitions between a lush cave, a dripstone cave, and some kind of massive cave system that's got no particular biome. And then we can do some really neat stuff with that. COD Sanctuary on Empires was pretty epic. That was half somebody else's build, though. There's a reservoir in northern Pennsylvania that has an entire town in it. It was flooded to fill the reservoir. Right, yeah. So there are definitely examples of it worldwide. How many hours do I have in Minecraft? I don't know how to give you the correct answer on that one, because a lot of my hours were on previous machines. I don't know if I can... Like, I've been playing Minecraft for 7 years. I don't have a lot of hours in this world, but in the survival guide world from last season, I had maybe like over 2,000. There were obviously been a lot of other servers I played on before that and after that. After playing on Switch, I do wish Java kept a track of total hours. If I had loaded Minecraft into like my Steam library, for example, and used Steam as the launcher for an external game, then maybe I could have done that. But, yeah, never something that's occurred to me. And, like, maybe I can look into my computer statistics, maybe, like, the details of the program itself will tell me, but I don't know. Anyway, that's probably where we're going to wrap things up. We have a full barrel of stuff here. And I don't want to do too much fishing because, obviously, like, I have tons of XP right now. I need to go and edit this video. We have a bunch of enchanted books that I will probably end up using at some stage. But for now, we're going to wrap it up there and go and raid somebody else here on Twitch. Thank you so much for stopping by. It's been a bit of a fun, chill stream. Hope you folks enjoyed. And yeah, we had a bit of a technical issue earlier, which means I'll probably download this VOD and upload it in 2 parts. So it might be up on the VODs channel a little bit late, but you can do !VODs. I think it still works. Or VOD, like that, maybe? Yeah, there we go. That's the Pixel VOD's channel on YouTube. You can find all of the junk there. Boferial, thank you for the Prime sub. Paisley Rose, thank you for the brand new Tier 1 sub to the channel. Now let's leave before the hype train actually starts. Who are we going to raid today?
Well, that's just prime.
We got a lot of people streaming, actually. I want to say probably we'll raid... We raided Boz recently. Let's go raid Bruno. Bruno's setting up on the Legacy SMP. He has a fantastic looking base. If you've seen his YouTube videos, his base is in the thumbnail. It looks awesome. So we're going to be raiding Bruno Danui. He is a fantastic Minecraft streamer from the wonderful country of Uruguay. You'll like this guy. He's got good energy. If it's your first time there, say hi from me. Don't forget to use your Pixel Hype emotes and the hashtag PixelRaid. And support Bruno through his journey on Legacy SMP. Looks like he just got started as well, actually. So very excited to see what he's up to today. I'll be back sometime soon. Might not be on Sunday. We will see. Normally I stream on Sundays, but since it's right after New Year, we might be doing something else instead. But in the meantime, thank you so much for being here. My name's been Pixel Riffs. I'll see you guys soon. Bye for now.